news show, you should have some semblance of factual basis to make your claims. He's completely wrong on that. And then he said the second thing, he and his guests kept trying to portray what Bad Bunny did as inclusive. If half or three quarters of the audience, or even more, doesn't understand the words, it's not very inclusive. So I thought Morning Joe was more like a propaganda machine again today. It's supposed to be a news show. He should at least have some semblance of fact when he makes his claims. He's a make it up sort of guy these days.
I'm gonna play a little later. David Zier had a fantastic analysis last night on the pregame that Posobiec and Rav did. I'll get to that in a moment. The reason is we got a ton of breaking news. So, John, you talk about the situation, what the Bad Bunny was, Ice Out, the culture, the pop culture, trying to shut things down. This week, we're supposed to have a vote on, I guess, Save America. Now, Chip Roy and others are trying to put more things in it. So you've got the mail-in ballots, you have not just the voter ID, but you've got the about the purging the voter rolls, all of that. Is your sense, given your knowledge of Capitol Hill, that the House can actually get that passed this week and then turn it over to the Senate? And we'll talk about the Senate in a second. But do you think the House can actually pull this together to codify President Trump's program about straightening out elections?
I think so. When I talked to Steve Scalise, he felt he had the votes to get this package through. By the way, the two key provisions already passed the House separately. Putting them together and sending them to the Senate is really designed to put an enormous amount of pressure on the Senate. The House Republican leaders feel confident they'll get this bill through. What does it do? It makes you show proof of citizenship to register, and then requires an ID to vote. Two things that would safeguard our elections. And by the way, both of them are 75 to 85% popular among Americans, including among minorities. So it's not something that's controversial. And just like Bad Bunny in the NFL, we're out of tune. Elitists that thought it was a great show when the rest of America was scratching its head. The Democrats in the Senate, and maybe some Republicans in the Senate, are going to show their elitism by trying to stop something that is 80% popular. The real question for the Republican Party, the conservative movement, all the conservative groups is, do they have the will to pressure the Democrats and the Rhino Republicans to get this vote to the floor? First threshold is, can you force John Thune to go back to the standing, talking filibuster, not the lazy filibuster that Mitch McConnell put it into place? And then after that, once Democrats tire and they can't talk anymore and they used up all their talk time, do the Republicans have enough votes to pass this on a simple majority? Every conservative group should, that I'm talking to, wants to lobby and put enormous pressure on the Senate to get the job done, but it will get out of the House by all accounts.
John, simultaneously, we're also negotiating, the Senate's negotiating this package about restrictions on ICE. Of course, as you've seen, the 5 or 6 things are up for discussion. The War and Posse saying, hey, that's the bare minimum anyway. So what is that? Tell me about the potential shutdown of Department of Homeland Security.
Yeah, so I think there's a game of chicken going on, and this is one of the few times that the conservatives have the upper hand in the game of chicken. Why? ICE is fully funded, regardless of what happens here. ICE is already funded. There was a 5-year appropriation that was slipped into the bill last year. So ICE will continue on, which will be an eyesore to the Democrats. It'll make them look silly that they're shutting down the Homeland Security Department, but they can't shut down ICE. Now, what will the Democrats be shutting down? Well, they'll be shutting down FEMA just before the hurricane season starts, or while these winter storms are still raging. There is a lot of fodder for conservatives to hold the line if they don't get the deal they want, because the demagoguery is going to flip around and boomerang on Democrats in this package if Republicans don't get wobbly knees.
John, illuminate the audience on this topic. People are saying, hey, all this standing filibuster and even the negotiations, the Munich Security Conference starts Friday. Half of the Senate wants to be on planes on Thursday to make it. Why is the Munich Security Conference such a big deal for members of the United States Senate that it would actually take away from a robust debate and negotiation around Homeland Security, sir?
Another proof that America is second in a lot of people's minds, right? They're more interested in a foreign conference than they are in getting the job done here. They haven't cut spending in a meaningful way. They haven't really given ICE and Homeland all the resources they need, but they'd rather go off and get another junket. I mean, this is a Congress that works less than half the time and spends more time raising money and going on junkets than getting the people's business done. And that's been the case whether it's under Democratic leadership or Republican leadership. Now, the House is moving a lot of stuff, and the House deserves a lot of credit. They're getting a lot done. The Senate is the place where things go to sleep. They go to die because the Senate under Republicans is not much more active than it was under Democrats. Now, they got the big, beautiful bill. They deserve one kudo on that. But since then, that was in July. What have you done for me lately is what a lot of Americans are asking of Senator John Thune in the Senate.
You've got a pretty explosive story you put up at midnight last night on Just the News. Let me get this correct. A year before January 6th, the FBI knew there might be some consternation about the election, given everything, given the Democrats already wargaming it. They thought this thing through, and they actually had plans specifically for January 6th, sir?
Yeah, they did. They had a tabletop exercise that they ran in Boston in August of 2020, 5 months before January 6th occurred. The memos, which Kash Patel just turned over to Congress, he just found them recently, turned them over to Congress at the request of Chairman Barry Loudermilk, who's in charge of the J6 investigation now in the House, show that the FBI knew there was a strong possibility of a hanging election or a contested election, that both sides appeared to be agitated and likely could likely carry out that agitation to the point of violence. And they even devised very specific strategies. And one of them is to embed informants inside the groups where the most likely political violence or political agitation might occur. That is something that the FBI did. We had 24 informants on the ground on the morning of January 6th. The second thing they recommended was mass prosecutions, even for the most minor of crimes. Exactly what the FBI did after January 6th. Now, there are two big things about that strategy. It's pretty clear the strategy was hatched months before, and that's what they carried out. It's not the strategy they used for the political violence that BLM and the far left conducted all throughout the summer and fall of 2020. So a very clear double standard. The second thing is they did embed informants in a lot of groups, including left and right groups, Antifa and right-wing groups, and they got lots of intelligence suggesting a bad episode would occur. We now know from Chairman Barry Loudermilk that while those warnings were very strong from the informants, the preparations and the warnings from the FBI to their brethren in the Capitol in Washington, D.C. did not exist. They didn't pass on the warnings from the informants. So two failed examples of the Chris Wray era of the FBI. Knowing something was going to happen, implementing a strategy that hurt conservatives but not liberals, and not warning the people who could actually prevent the violence from occurring. That is the legacy of the Chris Wray FBI. It's what we now have out in open. These documents are now out there for everybody to see. Pretty stunning, though maybe not so stunning given what we've learned about the FBI.
Is there any part of this that shows that they briefed, that Bill Barr and Chris Wray briefed the President of the United States, or briefed his staff, or briefed senior people at the White House after the tabletop exercise and after they came up with a plan of how to get informants? Is there any evidence at all that people that should have known about this were actually informed about it?
No, it doesn't look like the Attorney General knew, Bill Barr, or the brass, at least not as of now. There's no documentation showing that. There's no mention of it in the documents even suggesting that we alert the Attorney General or the Homeland Security Department or the Capitol Police or the Washington, D.C. Metropolitan Police. So it looks like the insular sort of pillared FBI existed again. These are the same diseases that affected the FBI before 9/11, and you're starting to see the same thing. You plan for something, you don't create the scenario where that planning actually results in success. It results in failure, and the American people are the big loser. January 6th was a preventable attack, as was 9/11. We now know that from the 9/11 report. The parallels between the two are really, really remarkable. And I think the Chris Wray era, a lot of people talk about the James Comey era. There's plenty of reason to talk about James Comey, but he was a much shorter-termed FBI director. Chris Wray was a much more consequential, longer FBI director, and perhaps caused more harm to the institution and to security in America and to law and order in America. He went after Catholics. He went after school parents. He went after FBI agents if they were pro-Trump or pro-Second Amendment. And he had all the goods to prepare and stop a January 6th crisis, but instead failed to do so.
John, where do people get all your content, news site, social media, and particularly the show?
JustTheNews.com is the website. Be checking that out later today. I think there's going to be some news about you on there, Steve Bannon. Good news for you. Good news for the American public. Jay Solomon reports on all social media platforms, and I'm lucky enough to follow you every night, 6 o'clock, here on Real America's Voice. Just the News, No Noise, a television show.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate you. Look forward to seeing you
Have a good one.
At 6 o'clock tonight. Thank you. I think this argues that it's just not bad apples. It's a structural, institutional issue, and that's why the FBI, I think, has got to be taken apart. The question gets to be, and this is where it talks about motivation for people that to get out and vote. Where's the accountability? When is Chris Wray? When are we going to get into a serious effort to hold Chris Wray accountable for everything he did? This is another outrage about, and then he bald-faced lied about it. Birch Gold, take your phone out, text Bannon, B-A-N-N-O-N, at 989898. The ultimate guide. Totally free, no obligation from Birch Gold. Talk to Philip Patrick and the team today about gold as a hedge. Natasha Owens takes us out.
There are a few things more aggravating than seeing your tax dollars wasted by the government. All too often, when big government tries to save the day, the funds sent around the world to help people in need are diverted by corrupt leaders to line their own pockets, enrich their cronies, or further an agenda that has nothing to do with helping their countrymen. You can do a better job at promoting freedom than any government can. Scan the QR code now or visit atlasnetwork.org/RAV today to join the worldwide freedom movement. With your gift of just $19 a month, we'll send you an Atlas Network exclusive hat. Plus, we'll send the print edition of our Freedom's Champion magazine to your door. We identify, train up, and celebrate local leaders as they work to make freedom a reality across the world. Our partners often risk everything: their reputations, their livelihoods, even their lives to fight for freedom in places where authoritarianism reigns. Visit atlasnetwork.org/RAV or scan the QR code to join our mission to help pro-freedom organizations around the world. Donate $19 a month to receive your exclusive Atlas Network hat.
Exactly what they're doing. They want to steal the election. We're going to walk down Pennsylvania Avenue, and we're going to the Capitol. They need to take back our country.
Events in Washington have taken a violent and tumultuous turn.
January 6th wasn't just a moment in history. For thousands of Americans, it was the moment their voices were taken.
It's insurrection.
They were persecuted, hunted,
Seditious conspiracy.
but behind prison walls, something unexpected happened. They found their voice again.
Started singing the national anthem.
We took it up to him at Mar-a-Lago. He goes, I'll put my voice on it.
Our supporters made this go platinum.
Real America's Voice is telling the real story of January 6th, like you've never seen it before.
Everybody, this must be peaceful.
This is not the story you were shown.
I take responsibility.
This is the story they live.
Government entrapment scheme that this actually was.
The J6 Patriots are no longer staying silent. They are speaking, they are standing, and they are telling the truth.
You can't kill us. You can't beat us.
Scan the QR code or visit RealAmericasVoice.com. Real America's Voice presents The Sleeping Giant. Available now.
Here's your host, Stephen K. Bannon.
Okay, welcome back. Let's go to Dr. Peter Navarro at the White House. Dr. Navarro, you got a lead story up in Real Clear Markets this morning. Now, the discussion with Speaker of the House Johnson last week, they had a Senate donor meeting, I think, down in Palm Beach, and they had other meetings in D.C. They're all talking about the economy's turning around so quickly that that's going to take us through 2026. Of course, we just can't depend upon the economy. There's so many other things that got to be done and to get our voters motivated. and up to the ramparts. But specifically on the economy, you're saying that Wall Street doesn't understand Trumponomics, that it's all starting to click, yet all you hear in the Wall Street Journal, the Financial Times of London, the New York Times business section is woe is me how bad the economy is. So what is true? What are you guys doing? And I know the stock market hit 50,000, but obviously that means lower cost of capital to make sure that we can build more manufacturing facilities. But a lot of people are not involved in the stock market. So what does Trumponomics mean? What doesn't Wall Street get about it? And why are you so confident that we're going to have a robust, booming economy come the fall elections?
Well, first of all, for folks out in MAGA-land who are not involved in the stock market, it still matters if the stock market's going up, because it's a prediction of basically how the economy in the future is going to look like. And by the way, we'll do this maybe later in the week. I'm going to talk about how the manufacturing renaissance is actually going well, okay? But here's the deal. April 7, 2025, it was shortly after President Trump announced the reciprocal tariffs, and Wall Street's head exploded. I was on Squawk Box with the famous Joe Kernan, right? And again, futures dead red down, and Dow was like flirting with 38,000. Okay, this was not many months ago. It was April 7th, and I got on there with Joe and I walked him through the four engines of GDP growth that Trumponomics does, and told everybody to relax that the Dow was going to hit 50,000. I think I'm the only guy on Wall Street who said 50,000. And Joe, of course, was like, you're crazy, kind of stuff like that. But we hit 50,000 on Friday. And here's what Wall Street doesn't understand. Here's what Jay Powell does not understand. Everything that Trump does is largely supply-side oriented, and the virtue of supply-side type policies is they can simultaneously stimulate growth without causing inflation. Very different from Keynesian demand stuff, spend money and just throw shit at it. And the four engines of growth are the tax cuts, cutting the regulatory burden, strategic energy dominance, and fair trade. And all of those work for MAGA because the common denominator is to boost working class jobs, manufacturing. And if you just walk through that, the big, beautiful bill, like what's it doing? No tax on tips, no tax on overtime, no tax on Social Security. Most important from a manufacturing point of view, Steve, is 100% expensing for investment in new factories and manufacturing. Okay, check that box. The regulatory burden, hey, you lower the regulatory burden, you lower costs that increase profits. Future profits give you an expectation that stock prices go up. So we're seeing that. Strategic energy dominance. Steve, oil and natural gas being cheap isn't just the fact that your car and your house run cheaper, okay? It's that energy is ubiquitous across the entire economy, particularly for food, because natural gas is a big ingredient for fertilizer. I don't know if you know this. So check that box. And then the fair trade thing and the tariffs, it's like what people don't understand about that is when you stop the world from cheating us, and it's not just China, it's Europe, it's Brazil, it's everywhere, Canada, Mexico. When you stop them from cheating us, then we get more jobs and factories here. And abroad, people want to come here to avoid the tariffs, so they invest here. So then what that in turn does, that begets, investment begets productivity, productivity begets jobs and increased wages. So this is what Wall Street doesn't get. Jay Powell doesn't get it. Back in 2018, when he was raising rates too soon, he cost us a point of GDP growth. Right now, he's sitting on interest rates way above where they should be because he doesn't understand Trumponomics. And people just need to understand that this stuff works. So we're positioning for a boom. And yeah, it's like I don't like to name drop or whatever, and I won't say the names, but there was a couple of senators last night just talking about November coming up, and they were like really defensive about the big, beautiful bill. I said, no. It's like, you got to understand, between now and November, everything's going to get better. Consumer confidence going up. The ISM Manufacturing Index had a huge jump last week, Steve, and we'll talk more about it later in the week. And so life's going to be good, or at least better. And it doesn't mean that we don't understand people's pain. We understand how hard it is to get by in this world. We understand some of the threats out there like AI, but on balance, there's a reason why 50,000 on the Dow got hit, and it's good for Main Street as well as Wall Street. End of rant.
Let's talk about that, the Wall Street versus Main Street. In the growth, and I think you're seeing in other people, the IMF and the Atlanta Fed and other people coming out, and you're hitting a number, particularly in the real economy, that people didn't think you would hit. You know, people are talking 4, maybe 4.5% GDP growth. Is your concern, particularly a lot of this investment is going in data centers, a lot of investment, you saw $700 billion this year from the major companies into artificial intelligence. Are you concerned that because it's both GDP growth, it's jobs growth, and it's real wages growth, are you concerned that the job growth may not be as robust as the overall growth of the economy?
Well, first of all, we have to do a reset both on Main Street and Wall Street on what to expect in terms of job growth every month in order to create enough jobs for the American people. When we were importing 20 million illegal aliens over a 4-year period under Joe Biden's open border policies, we had to create upwards of 200,000 jobs a month, Steve. 200,000 jobs a month to keep the unemployment rate where it was. And as you know, in the statistics, which blew my mind when they started coming out, we were actually seeing American citizens go to the unemployment line, and all the net new job growth in the Biden years was illegal aliens. Now, today, with the deportations, we only need to create about 50,000 jobs a month in order to maintain steady state and keep wages on the upswing. And Wall Street hasn't really adjusted to that. You know, you get the Steve Leismans of this world on CNBC. Well, they only created 50,000 jobs. It's like terrible. Nothing like the Biden years. Well, you don't need to have that number. So that's going to be really important. And look, Steve, I'm as concerned as anybody in MAGA and anybody, including you, about the effect of AI on jobs, on electricity, on water, and on agricultural land. But we are working hard on all 4 points of that compass, and hopefully we can stay ahead of that curve.
Last thing, I know you're going to come back and we're going to address this more later in the week, but the Wall Street Journal in particular is on a jihad that President Trump is, in fact, and your plan and Bessent's plan and Hassett's plan is not really creating the manufacturing jobs at the pace that we need. You want to give us at least a couple of lines on your rebuttal to the Wall Street Journal? And I understand you're coming back with more statistics later in the week, but the Wall Street Journal seems to be adamant that, in fact, President Trump has made it a central part of his to bring manufacturing jobs back. That's one of the reasons you have a gig in the White House. What say you, sir?
It's a 3-phase process. First of all, you put the tariffs on. Second of all, investment comes in both from abroad, but also from the big, beautiful bill, 100% expensing. Third, construction jobs begin. You can't make stuff and create factory jobs until the construction is completed. That takes 12 to 18 to 36 months. So that's how the ramp up looks. And again, the Wall Street Journal wants that talking point. They want two things. They want to say the tariffs are inflationary. They want to say the tariffs don't bring manufacturing. That's their mantra. But they're not looking at the same data I'm looking at, and they're not understand the sequencing, Steve, the sequencing. You got to build the factories before the manufacturing jobs come.
Dr. Navarro, you were dead right on the 7th of April, which was a couple of days after Liberation Day, when we talked about fair trade throughout the world, redoing the world's commercial relationships with President Trump putting the country first and American citizens first and American workers first. At 38,000, once again, your call shot to 50. It's like after we won in 16, when Peter Navarro single-handedly stopped a market rout by actually explaining Trumponomics to the world for the first time, I think, by an economist, a PhD economist. I want to thank you. Where do people go? You're putting up videos all day long, content all day long to explain this. Where do people go?
But we'll tell that story some other time. It's funny. I love it.
Where do people go for your content?
PeterNavarro.com, PeterNavarro.com. And you can go to X, Getter, and Truth. The boss just last night retweeted a video I did, which goes with the Real Clear Markets piece on Dow 50,000, and you can see that. So PeterNavarro.com is the one-stop shop. Steve, keep doing what you're doing, brother.
And the video had no Lion King at the end of it. Peter Navarro made sure that was taken care of. Dr. Navarro, thank you. Look forward to having you later in the week.
Funny music either.
Thank you, sir. Do I have John Fredericks? John Fredericks, can we tease the next block? Where are you? So where are we catching you,
on
sir?
A bus tour in Iowa. Straw poll coming up. We've got one running. You're in it. You're doing better than anybody expected except me. I knew you'd be right there. I'll share that later. Bannon on a roll in Iowa.
No. I want to know what the good folks in Iowa are talking about. John Fredericks is going to join us after a short commercial break. We're there to find out, as we're here in Texas, how fired up the Trump base is for turning out in November. There's a lot of, I think, miscommunications. New poll out in Texas that shows Ken Paxton has a pretty big lead over John Cornyn. And I can tell you, being down in Texas, if you're watching television, Senator Cornyn has carpet bombed Texas with $50 million worth of ads. But Ken Paxton up. We're going to try to get Ken Paxton later in the show. We're going to take a short commercial break. John Fredericks is live from his Freedom Bus in, I think, Des Moines, Iowa. He's going to take a tour around the state this week. He's going to have a lot of good info on where the MAGA voters stand. Short commercial break. Take your phone out. Text Bannon at 989898. Get the ultimate guide, totally free of investing in gold and precious metals in the age of Trump. Remember, they put silver in there. Gold and silver, rise, fall, rise again, fall. Check it out. Find out why. Find out why central banks are buying it at record rates. Get to Philip Patrick and the Team by Birch Gold. We're going to leave you with Bruce Springsteen. We know you hate this song. That's why we're making you listen to it. Natasha Owens in the next block.
There are few things more aggravating than seeing your tax dollars wasted by the government. All too often, when big government tries to save the day, the funds sent around the world to help people in need are diverted by corrupt leaders to line their own pockets, enrich their cronies, or further an agenda that has nothing to do with helping their countrymen. You can do a better job at promoting freedom than any government can. Scan the QR code now or visit atlasnetwork.org/RAV today to join the worldwide freedom movement. With your gift of just $19 a month, we'll send you an Atlas Network exclusive hat. Plus, we'll send the print edition of our Freedom's Champion magazine to your door. We identify, train up, and celebrate local leaders as they work to make freedom a reality across the world. Our partners often risk everything: their reputations, their livelihoods, even their lives to fight for freedom in places where authoritarianism reigns. Visit atlasnetwork.org/RAV or scan the QR code to join our mission to help pro-freedom organizations around the world. Donate $19 a month to receive your exclusive Atlas Network hat.
Exactly what they're doing. They want to steal the election. We're going to walk down Pennsylvania Avenue, and we're going to the Capitol. They need to take back our country.
Events in Washington have taken a violent and tumultuous turn.
January 6th wasn't just a moment in history. For thousands of Americans, it was the moment their voices were taken.
It's insurrection.
They were persecuted, hunted,
Seditious conspiracy.
but behind prison walls, something unexpected happened. They found their voice again.
Started singing the national anthem.
We took it up to him at Mar-a-Lago. He goes, I'll put my voice on it.
Our supporters made this go platinum.
Real America's Voice is telling the real story of January 6th like you've never seen it before.
Everybody, this must be peaceful.
This is not the story you were shown.
I take responsibility.
This is the story they live.
Government entrapment scheme that this actually was.
The J6 Patriots are no longer staying silent. They are speaking, they are standing, and they are telling the truth.
You can't kill us. You can't beat us.
Scan the QR code or visit RealAmericasVoice.com. Real America's Voice presents The Sleeping Giant. Available now.
Here's your host, Stephen K. Bannon.
John Fredericks joins us. John, you're on your bus. You're taking the bus for a week's tour, and I want to go through so the War and Posse knows where you're going. I'm in Texas. You're in Iowa. Neither one of us are in Virginia. Nuclear winter's come to Virginia, as we warn people about. Spanberger is on a roll. She's going to jam through this 10-1 House situation. Maryland's going to go 8-0. DeGrasse is going to be up here in the next couple of days. We're going to talk about the redistricting movement across the country. At best, we could come up +3 or +4 on the Republican side if everything comes together. But what's the temperature? You just heard Dr. Navarro from the White House. We're going to have Mark Mitchell on in a couple of minutes. And, of course, Mark and Richard Barris, who are two of the best MAGA pollsters, have gone to a dark place about what they think. I know on Capitol Hill, there's a lot of people in the House, a lot of people in the Senate throwing in the towel already. The only thing that matters is the MAGA base and where their heads are at right now. What is your sense so far as you kick it off today? I think you're in the Des Moines area. What's your sense from the actual MAGA fighters out there in the great state of Iowa?
Shocking in one day to get out of the district. You know, my wife, Ann, that runs the company, the CEO, said, you got to get out of this bubble. You got to get out of D.C. I want you to go to Iowa, go on a bus tour there. That's where it all started. Go to the heartland. I mean, you come out here for a couple of days on the weekend, you go to restaurants, you meet people fired up. Nothing like you get in D.C., nothing like the Panikins in the Senate, nothing like John Thune thrown in the towel, the whole bit. It's so different out here. The temperature, you know, you look at New Jersey, Virginia, MAGA voters didn't show, they're depressed, et cetera. You had the debacle that went on in North Dallas and that special. The feeling here is the exact opposite. I mean, we got great MAGA candidates like Ashley Vincent running for Senate. You talk to people, they're fired up. You know, you got all these good things happening in the economy, and people are starting to feel it. Gas prices have come down, et cetera. So people are starting to feel, hey, there's a light here at the end of the tunnel. And Iowa's becoming almost the cultural center of the MAGA base and your posse base out here, because the people are fired up. And so the spring in my step, being here just 2 days over the weekend from where it was, you know, spending 3 weeks in Washington, D.C. every day at the White House, unbelievable difference, Steve. And it gives me great hope that we're going to turn this thing around in the midterms. I think we got a shot right now when this economy turns. We got a shot to actually win these midterms and save the House. I'm fired up. We got great candidates here running. And, you know, the thing about Iowa is you got to go talk to people. There's 99 counties. You can't do TV like they're doing in Texas. You got to go out and talk to people. And when you do, they tell you the truth. They tell you what's going on. So we're fired up here.
No, I think that's why the Texas grassroots are on fire. I think that's one of the reasons Paxton's a new poll out today. We're trying to get Ken on, shows Ken up. But I want to go back because this is very important. A turned around economy from the Biden disaster is the predicate of President Trump's effort to turn around the country. Obviously, the closing the borders, mass deportations, all that, but a singular event was his passage of the big, beautiful bill and tariffs. Like I said, they both work simultaneously about driving manufacturing back here. People are seeing the green roots there. You got the entrepreneurial class and you got the workers. Break it down both. What are the business guys and the entrepreneurs saying, and then what are the average folks on Main Street saying as you talk to them?
Well, let's start with the business folks, the small business, which is the engine driver in the nation for jobs. I mean, there's a very different attitude here because of the one big, beautiful bill, because of the write-offs they were able to take for new equipment and expansion. Obviously, with the stock market up, like Peter Navarro said, like the doctor said, up to 50,000, people are now looking again at reinvesting in this economy, growing their business, hiring workers. You know, this is the time for expansion. So that's going. You get down to the working people, and look, they like healthcare prices to come down. That's the number one negative issue I hear from working people. Healthcare too expensive, but RX is coming down with Trump RX. Prescription prices are coming down. But like, I was at a restaurant last night, talked to the waiter. Here's what the guy said. I'm getting a $5,500 check back. No tax on tips. Not $55 or $500 like, you know, George Bush or somebody sent out a check. It's a $5,000 I'm getting back. Like, I can do a lot with that. I go on vacation. I can buy something. You know, I get my automobile fixed. So it's a big deal for working people when these refunds start to hit and people understand no tax on overtime, no tax on tips. These are actually real. Plus, my general tax rate's down. A lot of businesses I've talked to here, I've talked about 5-6 of them over the past week. All of them, even if revenue was up, paying less taxes like we are in 25 than they did in 24. All of this stuff is starting to roll up. Nobody saw this until they're going to see it in the second quarter. When you look at GDP growth here, you know, the average working guy punching a clock, he doesn't know what GDP growth is. All he knows is my paycheck lasting me longer at the grocery store? That's it. And as prices start to stabilize and now come down, that feeling of hopelessness is going away, which is driving out the base now. I think we're going to start to see it over the spring and by the middle of the summer.
John, where do people go to find out? The bus is going to be going to different sites in Iowa. We want to make sure as many War Room Posse members as possible get there. Where do they go for information?
And call in the morning. If you're from Iowa or you know anybody in Iowa, just call in the show, 6 to 10 a.m. Eastern, 888-480-JOHN, 888-480-JOHN. You can find out where the bus is. That's johnfredericksradio.com. And follow me on social media at JF Radio Show, at JF Radio Show. And we've also got a big straw poll up, the first in the nation. You can vote in that. So very interesting, the results so far. We'll not go into it now, but you'll get those later at jfradioshow.com. I tell you what, Steve, getting out of the Beltway, getting out of D.C., coming to Iowa, best thing I did. Changes your attitude.
I told you moving to D.C. you would live to regret it. Real quickly, we got 30 seconds. How cynical was the NFL owners' move yesterday on putting Bad Bunny on?
It was just terrible. I mean, that thing was such a joke, Steve. I mean, I bet the Seahawks, obviously, I was happy about the win. We did not watch the halftime show, but like, you got to get your audience, dude. I mean, President Trump gets his audience. Steve Bannon gets his audience. I get my audience. Roger Goodell and the NFL suits, they don't understand who their audience is for football. That thing was a disgusting catastrophe. They ought to be ashamed of themselves.
We got to bounce.
There are few things more aggravating than seeing your tax dollars wasted by the government. All too often, when big government tries to save the day, the funds sent around the world to help people in need are diverted by corrupt leaders to line their own pockets, enrich their cronies, or further an agenda that has nothing to do with helping their countrymen. You can do a better job at promoting freedom than any government can. Scan the QR code now or visit atlasnetwork.org/RAV today to join the worldwide freedom movement. With your gift of just $19 a month, we'll send you an Atlas Network exclusive hat. Plus, we'll send the print edition of our Freedom's Champion magazine to your door. We identify, train up, and celebrate local leaders as they work to make freedom a reality across the world. Our partners often risk everything: their reputations, their livelihoods, even their lives to fight for freedom in places where authoritarianism reigns. Visit atlasnetwork.org/RAV or scan the QR code to join our mission to help pro-freedom organizations around the world. Donate $19 a month to receive your exclusive Atlas Network hat.
The radical left knows exactly what they're doing. They want to steal the election. We're going to walk down Pennsylvania Avenue, and we're going to the Capitol. They need to take back our country.
Events in Washington have taken a violent and tumultuous turn.
January 6th wasn't just a moment in history.
Sang for me in those glory days of old. Where is your song for justice? Where is your song for the working man? I was born in the USA, and you spit on my promised land. You preach from your mansion, but you don't know the cost. I thank God you're not the boss. What about Lake and Riley? Is Charlie too hard to say? What about when you took your shot at the one you call king? Where is your song for justice? Where is your song for the working man? I was born in the USA, and you spit on my promised land. You preach from your mansion, but you don't know the cost. I thank God you're not the boss. I still believe in freedom, 'cause I've got a higher hope. I'll keep singing for America, even if you. Where is a song of compassion? Where is your song for the hurting man? I was born in the USA, and I used to be a loyal fan. You preach from your mansion, and you lost that human touch. I thank God you're not. I thank God you're
You know, you still need help from the boss. You need help from the boss.
Monday, 9 February, Year of our Lord 2026. Right there, Natasha Owens. I think you can download that. It was it was #1 on Friday. Natasha Owens put that song together in she told me what 4 or 5 days, 6 days, I think. Incredible. And I did that for the audience to make up for having to see Bad Bunny, clips from Bad Bunny and Joe Scarborough, and then the double down. We played Bruce Springsteen's streets of Minneapolis just to make sure the torture was appropriate. Natasha Owens, incredible. In fact, Real America's Music, I think Anthem of the Free of the J6 prison choir, and of course, my favorite was at the Somalia Waltz, which I don't think we've played on the show yet. It was so over the top, but that's also climbing up the charts. Part of the economy has got to be the situation with the Chinese Communist Party in China. It's a huge article, I think, out in the Wall Street Journal on Saturday that talked about the $1 trillion. Anytime anybody talks about China, no, China can be a strategic partner. China is spending $1 trillion to decouple. Remember, we've been the biggest advocates of decoupling from the Chinese Communist Party, that until they're an existential threat to our country, they're in unrestricted warfare. You've seen this, and we're going to have some people on starting this afternoon throughout the week of this biolab out in Nevada, CCP-oriented, owned by, I guess, an Israeli citizen. Very confusing what's happened out there, except for the fact that it's very dangerous and very deadly. The Chinese Communist Party's objective is to take down the United States of America, and they're doing it. They're a huge active participant, as Peter Schweizer has documented in the New York Times #1 bestseller, Invisible Coup, The Invisible Coup. He talks about the Chinese Communist Party's activity in unrestricted warfare to take down the nation. Now, we've had some yesterday as reinforcing that our strategy in the Western Pacific and East Asia is correct. An overwhelming victory yesterday for that firebrand female prime minister in Japan, who's very close to President Trump and is reinforcing kind of a not just reindustrialization, but rearmament of Japan and taking a much more aggressive military stance against the Chinese Communist Party. We have a small clip. We have a clip. Let's go and play the clip. We've got Colonel Newsham, Dr. Thay, and Cleo Pascal going to join us. Let's go and play the clip.
The Liberal Democratic Party won more than 2/3 of the seats in the lower parliament. It is its best result ever. President Trump has previously said that her decision to call the snap election was bold and wise.
It's about a 70% support rating versus her own Liberal Democratic Party, which has less than half than that. And I think there's several factors that have boosted her popularity. One, she's the first female prime minister in Japan, and as you know, that it's a very patriarchal society in many ways, where women have difficulty in terms of advancing in politics or even in business circles. And she's also very, I think, plain spoken, and she also comes across as very humble in her interactions with the public as well as with other lawmakers.
You say she's plain spoken. Certainly she's antagonized China, hasn't she? Sort of hinting and talking about Japan possibly getting involved militarily if China ever were to attack Taiwan.
Yes, I think she probably misspoke, or maybe she said more than she should have. But I mean, what she said was basically what I think most people who follow these policies in Japan believe would happen. Because if there is a attack on Taiwan by China, that would greatly affect Japan. And more likely than not, there might be an intervention by the United States. And as a treaty ally, Japan would be drawn into such a conflict. And so China reacted very strongly, urging its tourists not to travel to Japan. Japan being one of the largest destinations, one of the Chinese visitors are one of the largest numbers of visitors that come to Japan. And also they talked about reducing rare earth exports to Japan. And so Japan had similar issues about 15 years ago with rare earths. But these sort of spats between Japan and China, they sort of ebb and flow. And it just seems to be sort of a never-ending issue.
I disagree with that dramatically. You see the British broadcasters say, oh, she misspoke. She's antagonizing China. The people in Japan don't think so. I want to bring in Colonel Grant Newsham. But this is the equivalent of giving permission structure. This is what's happened in Texas. The reason we moved the show down here for the run-up to the primary is this situation with Sharia law, and Sharia law now being on the ballot on 3 March. The grassroots 100% in back. As the grassroots is fired up. I have seen, if you watch local television here, it is bombarded with ads. I've never seen anything like it. I mean, Cornyn, you can tell where the Senate, McConnell, these guys got back of him. Number one, his ads are just all nonstop. Number two, you would think he is living at the White House, the way the ads show how close to President Trump he is, which is absolutely not a fact. In addition, he has taken out ads now about Sharia law. And this is because the permission structure to give people permission to talk about this. This is why we had the conference with Geert Wilders and Glenn Beck, myself and Peter McElveen and many others, Grant Stinchcomb, that really gave people permission to talk about this situation of Sharia law in Texas. And it has certainly fired up the grassroots. And this is a grassroots game down here. Colonel Newsham, right there, she's antagonizing China, and she's made a huge mistake by saying that Japan will actually step in and be part of the defense of Taiwan in case there's an attack. This was, Japan better than virtually anybody, having lived there so long. How monumental was this yesterday, sir?
This was tectonic, and one doesn't use that expression loosely. This was a blowout, and it showed that most Japanese want Japan to stand up for itself, to stop apologizing to everybody, but particularly to the Chinese. That comment that you just had on the clip about Takaichi having provoked the Chinese by her comment over Taiwan, how wrong can you possibly be? With the Chinese, everything is pretextual. They were looking for an excuse to go after her. They hate her. They told the coalition partner for her party to drop out of that coalition and to go after her. And that was at the day after a meeting between the Komeito party and the Chinese ambassador to Japan. The fellow who asked the question in the Diet, Okada Katsuya, his family has very strong ties or business ties in China. Now, he was probably told to ask the question as well. But this was monumental, what you saw yesterday. Now the test is, what do we do about it?
Well, but it is giving permission to strike. The Japanese people basically said, screw you to China. They have been, because this has been the onslaught. You can't say anything about China. You can't think about the rearmament of Japan standing up now like a great nation defending itself, and particularly the potential of even defending an ally. So this is a game changer in East Asia, in geostrategically, because the Japanese people overwhelmingly showed that they have the back of those policies, correct?
That's right. And even before the election, when about 85% of the seats went to conservative candidates, even before that, public opinion polls were about 90% negative on China, and they have been for years. The Japanese really just about had enough. And the one thing that really scares the Chinese is a solidly linked U.S. and Japan with two militaries that can operate together effectively. They don't like that at all, and that's why they're responding this way.
Cleo Pascal, you've been out in the Western Pacific warning us about this. What's the message that people are going to hear about what happened in Japan over the weekend?
Japan is back as a serious regional player, that it has to be factored into considerations when you're looking at if you're China doing your calculations over Taiwan, if you're in the Pacific Islands, that maybe you've got somebody who has your back when the Chinese come calling. And Japan, is very worth noting, has been playing a slow, quiet game across the Pacific Islands and in developing relations with India as well. So now that it's kind of come out of the closet, so to speak, as a stronger nation, we might see some reinforcement and in the backbones of some of the others involved as well.
To Colonel Newsham's, what kind of shift in policy do you see happening? I mean, Japan is rapidly rearming. They're becoming a true military partner of the United States in East Asia. What do you see about the policy shift?
I think you're going to see a faster push for the Japan Self-Defense Forces to really become a capable military. And they've got some fundamental problems, not least missing recruitment targets by 20 to 25% every year. I think there's going to be an effort to change the Constitution so it formally recognizes the Self-Defense Force. As it is now, technically, the Japanese military is illegal. It's a huge morale blow to the force. You change that, you spend more money, but also you give the military military some respect. And for the first time, we could have a Japanese military that actually gets taken seriously besides some niche capabilities. Additionally, the Japanese are going to be far more active in the region, and they're going around trying to do exercises, but set up ties with just about anyone you can imagine, the Indonesians, the Australians, India, Malaysia, Philippines as well. And you may see them actually finally start to give some direct support to Taiwan. The Japanese are giving the Philippines the treatment that they would otherwise give to Taiwan because they're still a little gun shy. But Takaichi recognizes Taiwan's importance, and she likes Taiwan, and she's been there.
Dr. Thayer, we got a minute before we break. The Chinese Communist Party just had a loss of face on the global stage, and particularly in East Asia. What are they going to do in reaction to this? They're just not going to sit there and go, "This is terrific." The Japanese people are finally standing up themselves and want to basically be strong allies militarily with the Americans. What are your thoughts?
Well, Xi Jinping drove this. His relentless attacks on Japan and Takaichi personally were a massive gift to her and in this election. The CCP consistently touted economic retaliation, discouraging tourism, restrictions on rare earth. They had a diplomatic official say that Takaichi should be beheaded, actually. So the mask was off with the CCP, and the Japanese people recognize that. They recognize that they need power and to deal with the CCP, and that power is going to be conventional, as Grant said, and we need to start talking about the possibility of a nuclear Japan too to balance the PRC.
Hang on 1 second. We're taking a short commercial break. Colonel Grant Newsham, Cleo Pascal, Dr. Thayer. Got a whole list of people who want to get on here. We got a lot of news to cover. Short commercial break. Back in a moment.
I got American faith in America's heart.
There are few things more aggravating than seeing your tax dollars wasted by the government. All too often, when big government tries to save the day, the funds sent around the world to help people in need are diverted by corrupt leaders to line their own pockets, enrich their cronies, or further an agenda that has nothing to do with helping their countrymen. You can do a better job at promoting freedom than any government can. Scan the QR code now or visit atlasnetwork.org/RAV today to join the worldwide freedom movement. With your gift of just $19 a month, we'll send you an Atlas Network exclusive hat. Plus, we'll send the print edition of our Freedom's Champion magazine to your door. We identify, train up, and celebrate local leaders as they work to make freedom a reality across the world. Our partners often risk everything: their reputations, their livelihoods, even their lives to fight for freedom in places where authoritarianism reigns. Visit atlasnetwork.org/RAV or scan the QR code to join our mission to help pro-freedom organizations around the world. Donate $19 a month to receive your exclusive Atlas Network hat.
The radical left knows exactly what they're doing. They want to steal the election. We're going to walk down Pennsylvania Avenue, and we're going to the Capitol. They need to take back our country.
Events in Washington have taken a violent and tumultuous turn.
January 6th wasn't just a moment in history. For thousands of Americans, it was the moment their voices were taken.
It's insurrection.
They were persecuted, hunted,
Seditious conspiracy.
but behind prison walls, something unexpected happened. they found their voice again.
Started singing the national anthem.
We took it up to him at Mar-a-Lago. He goes, I'll put my voice on it.
Our supporters made this go platinum.
Real America's Voice is telling the real story of January 6th like you've never seen it before.
Everybody, this must be peaceful.
This is not the story you were shown.
I take responsibility.
This is the story they live.
Government entrapment scheme that this actually was.
The J6 Patriots are no longer staying silent. They are speaking, they are standing, and they are telling the truth.
You can't kill us. You can't beat us.
Scan the QR code or visit RealAmericasVoice.com. Real America's Voice presents The Sleeping Giant. Available now.
Here's your host, Stephen K. Bannon.
Okay, with all the focus on Tehran and the Middle East, as I've been saying, the Middle East is a sideshow, and the Israel-Tehran situation is a sideshow to a sideshow. The center of gravity where we should be fine. By the way, the Ukraine situation, President Trump's working nonstop. They're talking about June at the latest of getting some sort of deal done. But the center of gravity of the existential threat we have is the Pacific, is Asia. As President Trump goes along this brilliant Monroe Doctrine 2.0 with the Trump corollary, from the Arctic all the way down to Argentina and everything in between, the Gulf of America, the Caribbean, the Panama Canal, all of it, Greenland, Alaska, the Arctic Canada, quite brilliant. But geopolitical turmoil, and that's what we have now. It's a fourth turning. It's not going to stop tomorrow. This is why we started writing The End of the Dollar Empire, 4 or 5 years ago? I think gold was 1,000, 1,100. We talk about it's not the price of gold, although the price of gold is near $5,000. Kind of alternates every couple of days. It's the process. It's why central banks have been buying it at record rates now for 3 years. What is it about the dollar? How central is it to the life of the world economy and the country, the community, and your personal life and your family? The free installment 8 is about to come out, but get the other 7 installments, read up on it. And most importantly, get to Philip Patrick and the team at Birchgold, birchgold.com. Promo code Bannon, The End of the Dollar Empire. You get immediate access to Philip Patrick. They'll walk you through everything about the ownership of physical gold, and particularly as a hedge against times of financial turbulence and geopolitical uncertainty. And we have geopolitical uncertainty, although I think it's getting clearer and clearer every day. Dr. Thayer, in India, we signed the trade deal. We're about to ink the trade deal. I think we're in terms agreed. That happening really almost on the same weekend as the Japanese people standing up and saying, hey, we're anti-CCP, we're with the Americans. How important is that, sir?
Well, it's huge. I mean, we're in a new era in international politics. Both sides, the PRC is trying to address their vulnerabilities through that over $1 trillion investment to decouple from the U.S. in chips in particular. And then Japan and the U.S. are also addressing their vulnerabilities as they shore up their industrial base, as they shore up their ability to generate the weaponry they need, and the industrial base to sustain that weaponry to deal with the PRC. India is a part of that. The interim agreement that was reached on Friday night, or was released on Friday night, it talks, of course, about reducing tariffs, the U.S. reducing tariffs, India reducing tariffs. India is promising not to buy any more Russian oil, but also securing supply chains. And economic security is a key aspect of that agreement as well. So we see in this new era, states doing what they can to maximize their power and to strengthen their ability to support the militaries that they're going to need to have to deal with the security competition in this era.
Dr. Thayer, we got to bounce, but you're writing a book on the 100-year war of the United States versus communism. Is this now we should understand they're going to double and triple down on the color revolution that they're driving? As Peter Schweitzer has shown, they're one of the key drivers, the Chinese Communist Party. Don't forget, the Chinese Communist Party is trying to take us down internally because they understand they're going to have a very difficult time taking us down other ways, particularly as countries like Japan and India and Taiwan partner with us. Are they going to double down on their efforts to destroy the United States internally?
Sure, they've never stopped, Steve, but U.S. and our allies, they're Leninists and they're very good at political warfare. And so we should never expect there's any lessening of that effort, whether they're supporting George Soros and billionaire donors or unrest in the streets of Minneapolis or elsewhere, or undermining our allies and partners like India and Taiwan. The Navy says Rust never sleeps, and the CCP's political warfare and targeting us never sleeps as well. They're always at it.
Dr. Thayer, where do people go to get your writings now more than ever?
Yes, Steve, Brad Thayer at X and Bradley Thayer, Getter and Truth. Thanks very much, Steve.
Look forward to the book coming out. Cleo Pascal, is this a time that we should be letting the Brits give Diego Garcia away to a country that is controlled by the Chinese Communist Party, ma'am?
Can you believe it? It's just insane. And by the way, as you know, I prefer deparasite to decouple. I think that it's a much more accurate way of describing how the Chinese get into your economy, suck out your capital, your intellectual property, your jobs. And then if you're the castrator barnacle, which is the specific parasite I like to compare them to, control you from afar. And that's, I think, largely what's happened, at least in part of the United Kingdom. And has contributed to this crazy decision of the Starmer government to give away the Chagos Archipelago, which includes this critical U.S. base on Diego Garcia, to Mauritius, and then pay billions and billions of pounds over the next 99 years, if the lease even lasts that long, to lease it back. And the latest on this, if you can believe it, is the Maldives, known mostly as a tropical island paradise, has now moved into part of the waters of Chagos and claimed that it has control over it because there is some illegal fishing going on. So you've got even a new power. This sort of weakness breeds this vacuum where everybody seems to be saying, okay, well, if this is up for grabs, we want a part of it. And the thing that I'm particularly concerned about is the Mauritius government cabinet notes have said that there will be a delegation going from the U.S. to Mauritius to discuss security in the region. I'm concerned that the U.S. negotiators may have still fallen for part of the U.K. line, which is that Mauritius should be involved in this at all. They should not. The Chagos Archipelago, including Diego Garcia, should stay British. There should be, as was agreed in 1966, that it would stay British at least until another 10 years, until 36. And in the meantime, you do a referendum for the Chagosian people, and very likely they're going to vote to stay British, and then that's it. None of this negotiation should be going on. The Maldivians shouldn't be sending drones and coast guards into Chagosian waters. It's gone totally off the rails, as has the UK political establishment, which is why Starmer's chief of staff has just quit, and now we'll see how long Starmer himself lasts.
Was Starmer kowtowed to the Chinese Communist Party? It's humiliating that a British prime minister would do that. That's why he's coming up and trying to basically give him Diego Garcia. There's nothing to discuss over there. There's just nothing to discuss. This is like with the Senate. We have nothing to discuss on the ICE tactics and strategy, right? Everything they want is just to basically destroy the ability to do mass deportations. They know exactly what they're doing. Same thing in Mauritius. Cleo, where do people go? You're putting stuff up all the time on this. This all hangs in the balance. Where do folks go?
Just on X, my name, Cleo Pascal. I'm on Getter as Real Cleo still. And if you want, the Woolly Eye Runway, which some of the War Room Posse has been following me on, has just opened up. There's been a handover ceremony from the Chinese to the president of Federated States of Micronesia, and I'm posting on that as well.
Terrible, 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 terrible. Thank you, ma'am. Grant Newsham, what's going to be the next we should look forward in Japan? Because this is, as you said, a tectonic earthquake, a plate shift in East Asia, sir.
For the first time in 25 years, you're going to have a Japan that can actually fight. It's going to take them a little while, but they're moving fast. When they turn to on something, they do it quickly. And so the U.S. will finally have a real ally that it can depend on, and vice versa. But so expect the Chinese to turn up the heat here. You're going to see Chinese ships, aircraft all over the place, leaning in on Japanese territory, particularly down in the south, and also where the Japanese just brought up some rare earth minerals from the bottom of the ocean south of Japan. So the Chinese haters are going to try to destroy her, and there's plenty of people in Japan who are on the Chinese payroll who will try. So Takaichi needs a lot of support, but the dynamic is very different now that America has potentially and most likely a force that can actually reach back and will hurt the Chinese if they try something.
Colonel, where do people go to get you, particularly your book, When China Attacks? It's a great, because you don't say if, it's basically when. It's a great primer on what to expect, very strategically smart and tactically smart. Where do they go get all your content?
Well, the book's on Amazon, and the Chinese actually have started attacking. There's 2 meanings to the title. I'm on X at Newsham Grant and Center for Security Policy. If you go there, type my name, and you'll find everything that I write.
Colonel, thank you for joining us today, and thank you for being correct on the direction of Japan. It caught a lot of people by surprise, but it did not catch Cleo Pascal, Dr. Bradley Thayer, and Colonel Grant Newsham. Did not catch them by surprise. Thank you, sir. Appreciate you.
Thank you.
This is a great thing about the War Room's observers and analysts. They're ahead of the program. These guys were calling this, but by the way, it was quite overwhelming. Huge support yesterday. 2 things. Home Title Lock. If you're lucky enough to own a home, particularly in times of financial turbulence, 80 or 90% of your net worth is tied up in that home. Early as the average age, I think, of young buyers, first-time buyers, is 40 years old. So owning a home right now in the United States is a blessing. Make sure it doesn't turn into a curse. How could that happen? A rogue accountant, a rogue lawyer, a rogue financial advisor, a rogue relative or friend, coupled with attacks of artificial intelligence and cyber, could get into that because it's a fairly rudimentary system we have in the United States about titles. Make sure somebody can't get it and take out a hard money second loan or sell your property. HomeTitleLock.com. Natalie Dominguez and the team. Go to HomeTitleLock.com. Promo code Steve. Try to keep this simple. Promo code Steve. Right now, they have a free 14-day $1 million triple lock protection so you can actually see what the service does. Talk to Natalie Dominguez and the team today. Don't let anybody turn your dream into a nightmare. Short commercial break. Dave Brett, Andrew Colvett, Jack Posobiec next.
Welcome to Real America's Voice, Real Minute. Your quick look at the powerful stories of faith and freedom, inspiring audiences across the nation. Angel Studios presents.
I'm Bo Davidson with your Real America's Voice, Real Minute. Did you ever wonder what truly happened in the COVID-19 pandemic and whether Anthony Fauci would ever be held accountable? I think we all have. Filmmaker Jenner Furst has an upcoming documentary that searches for truth, transparency, and accountability called Thank You, Dr. Fauci.
Governments lie.
Anthony Fauci put everyone on the planet at risk without their consent.
It's beyond suspicious.
Research caused a pandemic, killed 20 million, and cost $25 trillion. Fauci would prefer a lie.
Public trust, national health, and global security are at stake as this documentary digs through thousands of pages of documents and interviews with former officials and whistleblowers in the most controversial narrative of our time that may also be one of the largest cover-ups in modern public health history.
There was a cover.
Why would he trade the Chinese the most advanced biotechnology in the world?
He's a spy. It's insane.
I don't think this is going to be foolproof. Things are going to slip through.
Fauci knew and lied repeatedly.
Rather than being a partisan hit piece, Thank You, Dr. Fauci is an honest look at the origins of COVID-19 and a potential bioarms race with China. It streams exclusively on Angel Studios app and site starting on October 23rd. And all you need to do is go to angel.com/Rav to stream it. So be ready to watch, question, and share as the quest for truth and accountability continues.
My name is Tracy Elk with Arizona. I don't stink around in the kitchen when it comes to the news. I watch Real America's Voice, which always serves accurate and reliable updates that are on point with their amazing hosts. So don't find yourself in a pickle by tuning into the fake news. Stick with Real America's Voice.
Hi, I'm Bridgie. And why do I love Rob? Well, even out here in the cornfields of Iowa, I still need news I can depend on. That is Real America's Voice.
Hi, this is Chris from Wisconsin, and I love Real America's Voice because they have great news and a great chat family. God bless all of you.
Hello, all you Ravagers. I'm Billy Howell, your old buddy Carefree Largo from the chat, and I'm thrilled to be part of the Rav family.
It is odd to see the very same evangelicals who claim the Bible is inerrant and who criticize fellow Christians about matters such as ordaining women on the grounds that they are being unfaithful to what Paul wrote in one of his epistles, an interpretation that many biblical scholars dismiss Jesus' most famous sermon. For these Christians, the teachings of the Son of God take a backseat to the pronouncements of the King of Mar-a-Lago. Much of today's evangelical world sees Trump's viciousness not as a vice, but as a virtue, so long as it is employed against those they perceive as their enemies, against those whom they resent, and for whom they have a seething hatred.
The same people that would say, by your fruits you will be known, are the same ones that are just turning a blind eye to everything. And you're talking about parables. I mean, my gosh. The Good Samaritan.
Yes.
You look at what's happening in Minneapolis. Jesus is asked specifically when he says, love your neighbor as yourself. Who's my neighbor? He tells the story of the Good Samaritan, a foreigner that is hated and despised by his audience. And he says, that's your neighbor. Right. That's your neighbor. Not your neighbor, not the person you love, not the person that makes you feel best about yourself, not the person who shares your same belief system, but the despised, hated Samaritan that did what the priest didn't do, that did what the worker didn't do, took care of a person in distress. It is so clear-cut. Also, not to go into it too much, but Matthew 25, 31 through 46, the disciples, this isn't like an administrative reg in the gospel. They say, what must we do to be next to you? To sit at your right hand. What must we do? And Jesus says, many things. Feed the hungry, give water to the thirsty, clothe the naked, visit people in jails, welcome the foreigner, the stranger. These are verses and parables that lie at the heart of the gospel. And it's one of the few times where they say, what do we have to do to be with you, to have eternal life? And Jesus always turns it back to them. Take care of the least among these. Because when you do that, you're taking care of me.
Bless Donald Trump and its followers of Donald Trump. I agree with you, Beth Moore. She was very influential in my daughter, Christine's life. And she's a person of real courage because people turned on her, like you said, Russell Moore and others. What explains this? I mean, it's a very complicated issue, and it doesn't have one answer. But I do think that what we've discovered over the last 10 years is that for a lot of people who proclaim to be followers of Jesus and sincerely proclaim to be followers of Jesus, their core identity actually is not faith. I think their core identity is in many cases political or cultural, and that they tag faith on. It's not as if faith isn't important, but they have these certain pre-existing views, then they're amplified in the social media world. And then Donald Trump, because of this constant inflaming of passions and grievances, just connected with them. And so in the end, what they've done is they've taken teachings and verses and deformed them, but convinced themselves that they're acting with faithfulness. So there's There's something, particularly disturbing about this, and the effect on the Christian witness. And I say this as a person of the Christian faith is incalculably damaging, and so few people are willing to stand up. You named probably half of them in the show, so far. That's another thing that's troubling in these times.
If my people who are called by my name shall submit themselves before me and turn from there, I could go on and on. Yep. We heard it over and over again. But I guess the red letters, Jesus' teaching, the Gospels, I guess they apply to Democrats, but they don't apply to Republicans? Is that what we're learning here?
There's nothing better to fire up the War Room Posse than to have Joe Scarborough on a Monday lecture you on the New Testament. It's unbelievable. I can see already in the chat, in the War Room, engine room, make it stop. Dave Bratt joins us. Dave, this comes off a piece in The Atlantic, another super Christian magazine that's now, I think it's Steve Jobs' wife owns it, and they're bringing in every left-wing writer, kind of a talent grab. But they have particularly focused on religion. They do a lot of pieces on religion. They've got one up, and that's what Morning Joe was going off on this morning. Can you walk us through it?
Yeah, sure, boy. That's a doozy. Peter Weiner, whoever was the narrator, said he opened up with, "It is odd." I'll tell you what is odd. It is odd to have Joe Scarborough sitting with the pinnacle of Western ethics, Father Reverend Al Sharpton. Go Google Al Sharpton, and it is a laundry list of crimes on down the scene. And to which Joe will say, "Oh, read the red letters. Look the other way. Love your neighbor as yourself." No, if you love your neighbor as yourself, you want the rule of law in place, right? And then you got Caddy K, the paragon of British virtues, where the churches are empty. These folks, it's very simple theologically, right? You should love, as a person, you should love your neighbor as yourself. But as yourself implies also you would want the rule of law for them, right? Because that's what I would want for myself. And they abstract from that. But this is not, politics is Romans 13, right? God institutes leaders to wield the sword and to bring justice to nations. So when Joe invokes Minnesota, $20 billion crime and fraud and illegality all over the place, and then he uses the gospel to say, ignore that, feed your brother, feed the least of these. That is a grotesque version of Christian theology, and he knows it, right? And truly, if you look at the political level, they're taking it out on President Trump. We had Biden chaos, right? 20 million illegal aliens. And then when you try to restore the rule of law, guess what? That's not easy. But they brought the chaos. And again, the law, nothing. And then the give. Hang
on one second. I just want to make sure people. Yeah. I want to make sure I understand it, and then hopefully the audience. The case they're making here. And we've had Basham on and others that do this professionally and study this about they're trying to drive a wedge in the church. Right. They're trying to drive a wedge between traditional Catholics and the standard stock Catholic Church, between mainline Protestantism, but particularly in the evangelical community, because they, as Basham tells us, the evangelical community has oftentimes become the last line of defense we have against some of these more outrageous policies. And correct me if I'm wrong, they're making the argument that any of the evangelical preachers and any of the evangelical pastors and people like the New Turning Point, or I shouldn't say the New Turn, but the Turning Point Faith, people bringing young people together, that what they're doing is they're actually throwing away the gospels of Jesus Christ and actually teaming up with an autocrat king, of which they refer to Trump, and they're for political power. They're drafting off what they call Trump's hate and Trump's viciousness against various communities. Is that essentially what they're trying to do here?
Yeah, no, it's just clear, and I think their anxiety is heightening because at the prayer breakfast, as President Trump said, The young people are up a couple 100%. The young men, the attending church, up a couple 100%. Bible sales are going up 200-300%. And so the left, of course, does not like this. They're not. Have you ever heard the left push Bible sales? Have you ever heard NBC or MSNBC or CNN or anything bring up or the Atlantic bring up the gospel? They only do this to divide the Christian right, and they're not having any of it, right? As I said after the prayer breakfast when I came on, President Trump, at first, 10 years ago, there may have been some wrinkles or whatever, but the evangelicals and the broader Catholic community and the rest of the world now is seeing what President Trump is doing to restore order, right? The Biden chaos extended to collecting $30 million in checks for the Biden family, et cetera. That corruption, along with Minnesota, et cetera, that's visible for everybody to see. And we were becoming weak. Now President Trump is pushing the order not only on the U.S. evangelicals, but on the rest of the world. And he's strengthening NATO. He's strengthening the United Nations. He's strengthening the institutions. He's getting rid of the rot that has decayed our values and virtues abroad, and he's restoring classical American virtues. And Pete Hegseth is doing the same thing. I could go right across the board. So the left is they're trying to drive a wedge. There's a few evangelicals who are just, bitter at, for some reason. Well, no need to go there.
But hang on one second.
Through it.
You made a statement the other day because the prayer breakfast is not just MAGA. The prayer breakfast is a broad range. You have Democrats there. You have mainstream Protestants. You have many very, very liberal Catholics. You said the prayer breakfast the other day, 1/3, particularly the evangelicals, are with President Trump.
Yeah.
1/3 are kind of, they'll do it, but they don't want to be identified with it. They're afraid that there will be, like the guys in Minneapolis, the church will be attacked, et cetera. And then the third are against us. Going into politics in the future, particularly with all these issues we have with mass deportation, et cetera, what can we do? We got a couple minutes here. What can we do to assist the 1/3, right? Those are the ones that are being attacked in this Atlantic article. Yep. What they're trying to do, they see the power of Don Lemon and these guys going into the church and intimidate people. This is what they're going to start doing next. They want to intimidate Christians to not have the back of President Trump and these MAGA policies. It's quite evident, and they're going to do it with an intellectual piece here. So given that you were at the prayer breakfast, what can we do collectively to make sure that we have the back of that 1/3 and expand that so we can get the other third on board?
Yeah, well, that's right. And just to be clear, we have 2/3 and maybe a little more of the evangelicals backing President Trump. There's a third that are weak and, they're relatively hopeless. But what do? The White House has several initiatives on religion. And if they can help put together talking points to show how Trump's policies are actually serving in the interest of the poorest of the poor, right? When you look at Africa and China going into Africa, China going into whatever, Africa is no longer in a love fest with China. Let me tell you that. I meet leaders from Africa over the past several years. So they need to put out in simple bullet point form at the highest level at geopolitics. What is President Trump doing to reunite the world around some principles, right? We've had a 70-year run of relative peace and prosperity. We're not angels at the state level, but there's no comparison morally between us and China, who doesn't believe in any sense of human rights. We have a constitution on paper. They do not in its simplest form. Also, the Christians need to be proud of what we've accomplished. Christians uniquely and only in Western Europe brought, first of all, human rights, and then the rule of law, and then private property rights, and then market-based capitalism and modern economic growth. All started only in Christian countries, and the Christian kids don't know this. So if the White House Office of Communications on the Faith, Paula and them, put together some of those, and then just basic Christian ethics, put it out there and explain to the American people the distinction between the gospel on the individual level and then the Romans 13 at the state level, that is not turn the other cheek time when it comes to China. They got it all wrong. The left is so misguided.
Dave, hang on for 1 second. We'll hold Dave Brett.
Yep.
And remember, all political opinions are Dave Brett's own. Always remember that. Big article over the weekend. I'll break it down to either tonight or tomorrow about the world's got too much debt. You ever heard that? Like $380 trillion of debt, and there's going to be a huge margin call. It's one of the reasons that you want to make sure you go to Birch Gold. Take the phone out and text Bannon, Bannon, at 989898. Get the ultimate guide for investing in gold and precious metals in the age of Trump. You get hooked up with Philip Patrick and the team. Also, Scott Bessent, our beloved former contributor, is now overseeing the IRS. They need every penny. They're going to get every penny they think they got coming to them. Tax Network USA, you get a free discovery call. I'll explain it as soon as we get back.
Welcome to Real America's Voice, Real Minute. Your quick look at the powerful stories of faith and freedom, inspiring audiences across the nation. Angel Studios presents.
I'm Bo Davidson with your Real America's Voice, Real Minute. Did you ever wonder what truly happened in the COVID-19 pandemic and whether Anthony Fauci would ever be held accountable? I think we all have. Filmmaker Jenner Furst has an upcoming documentary that searches for truth, transparency, and accountability called Thank You, Dr. Fauci.
Governments lie.
Anthony Fauci put everyone on the planet at risk without their consent.
It's beyond suspicious.
Research caused a pandemic, killed 20 million, and cost $25 trillion. Fauci would prefer a lie.
Public trust, national health, and global security are at stake as this documentary digs through thousands of pages of documents and interviews with former officials and whistleblowers in the most controversial narrative of our time that may also be one of the largest cover-ups in modern public health history.
There was a cover-up.
Why would we trade the Chinese the most advanced biotechnology in the world?
He's a spy.
It's insane.
I don't think this is going to be foolproof. Things are going to slip through.
Fauci knew and lied repeatedly.
Rather than being a partisan hit piece, Thank You, Dr. Fauci is an honest look at the origins of COVID-19 and a potential bioarms race with China. It streams exclusively on Angel Studios app and site starting on October 23rd. And all you need to do is go to angel.com/Rav to stream it. So be ready to watch, question, and share as the quest for truth and accountability continues.
Hi, my name is Tracy Elm from Arizona. I don't stink around in the kitchen when it comes to the news. I watch Real America's Voice, which always serves accurate and reliable updates that are on point with their amazing hosts. So don't find yourself in a pickle by tuning into the fake news. Stick with Real America's Voice.
Hi, I'm Bridgie. And why do I love Rob? Well, even out here in the cornfields of Iowa, I still need news I can depend on. That is Real America's Voice.
Hi, this is Chris from Wisconsin, and I love Real America's Voice because we have great news and a great chat family. God bless all of you.
Hello, all you Ravagers. I'm Billy Howell, your old buddy Carefree Largo from the chat, and I'm thrilled to be part of the Rav family.
Here's your host, Stephen K. Bannon.
Okay, Scott Bessent's the new sheriff in charge. 800-958-1000. You get a free call if you say you're from the War and Posse. 800-958-1000 to Tax Network USA to find out exactly how much you owe, or maybe you own less. But get the facts. Take away the angst. Now's the time to do it. The Tax Network USA loves the War and Posse. The feedback we've gotten from people is tremendous. 800-958-1000. A free call. You get a free call to get an assessment, a discovery call. That's what it's referred to, a discovery call. Do it today. Tax Network USA. They've solved billions of dollars worth of people's tax problems. Your tale of woe, they've heard dozens and dozens of times before. Talk to the professionals. Andrew Covett, not in a million years that I think when we had you on Friday and Saturday to talk about this and to launch it, given the couple of months that Real America's Voice yourself, the Turning Point operation put together, these numbers are numbers that are monumental. And it shows you that the American people thirst for a patriotic alternative. What say you, sir?
Yeah, we're pretty blown away, Steve, last night, especially as we saw those live stream concurrent numbers just keep climbing. I mean, I think there was like 1 million people before the show even started, and YouTube for just the Turning Point channel alone got as high as 6.17 million live concurrents. If you add that up, we're actually working with a third-party firm right now this morning to find out what sort of a Nielsen equivalent would be for this. But when you add up that live stream plus Rav's live stream plus on just YouTube, we're just talking YouTube. We're not talking about other broadcast channels or anything like this. And so it was Charlie's, Turning Points, Rav's. If you put those 3 streams together, I think you already have the number 1 YouTube stream of all time. We're going to confirm that. I'm not here definitively saying that, but it was easily number 2. We'll see if we were the number 1 live stream in the history of YouTube. That's not counting Rumble. That's not counting broadcast. That's not counting all of these other areas. So we know for a fact that about 25 million streams last night, which is like amazing. And the way Nielsen does their numbers is they'll usually put a 2.5x on that because they're depending on groups watching it together. And I had people texting me, parties of 50 watching the game saying, "Hey, we're tuned into the halftime show." So it was. It's going to be an estimate, but we're talking 40, 50 million people tuned in to Turning Point USA's The All-American Halftime Show. So just an amazing, amazing success. And I will tell you, this is a shot across the bow, Steve. There are media executives, advertising executives all across the country that took note last night, and some of them are pretty nervous this morning.
And why are they nervous, Andrew? You guys, this has been Charlie's dream for a long time. And after his assassination, I know you and Tyler and the team, Erica, focus on, hey, we got to do this. And you guys put it together. Rav helped. Other people helped. Robin Parker Sig and so many other people had your guys back. Why should they be nervous this morning?
Well, listen, I mean, if you assume about 125 million people tune in for the big game, well, if you are an alternative programming option that just took 40 or 50 million eyeballs away from that, the ad implications, the ad dollar implications are huge, Steve. And so that's one win, just basically showing the world that you can do this. The second win, though, is like, hey, next year we want to invite some of these big boys to come alongside us and help underwrite this so we can make it even bigger and better. I'm looking at you, Cabela's. I'm looking at you, Chevy. I'm looking at you. What brands are selling to the American heartland? They're selling to patriotic Americans. Help us do this thing and keep the pressure on. And listen, when you've got 40 to 50 million eyeballs on you, if you're a smart advertiser, you want to go where the eyeballs are. And so, sky's the limit. And when you start breaking down not just the numbers, Steve, but when you say, hey, institutional advertising, corporate America, when you break that stranglehold that the woke has had on the ad world, then you've done something really important. You've actually showed that there is a whole swath of the country that is underserved, and you're going to be rewarded if you serve them. And what happens then? You break the dam, you break the blockade, and culture starts changing in some serious ways.
You're the co-host of the Charlie Kirk Show. You follow us here as you have for years on Real America's Voice. You'll be up in a few minutes. What's your social media? Where are the coordinates so people can get to you? And people, folks, take some time and understand what happened yesterday. It was a tectonic earthquake in Japan and a tectonic earthquake here in the United States of America. Where do people go, Andrew?
Yeah, just follow me on X at Andrew Colvett. Watch the show here daily. Me and Blake Neff holding it down. This is a show dedicated to the mission and legacy of Charlie Kirk. Obviously, the show bears his name, and we miss him every day. So check out the show right after the War Room. Support Rob and Parker Sig. I just want to reiterate what you said, Steve. They were with us from the jump. This network was with us from the jump, backing our play here. And, I don't know if we would have had the courage to do this the way we did without guys like Rob and Parker Sig getting behind us, and you, Steve, right from the jump. I mean, and these artists, Gabby Barrett, Brantley Gilbert, Kid Rock, who did I forget? Gabby Barrett, Lee Brice. These are heroes. They had courage, Steve. They did the hard thing, and I hope this audience will reward them, buy their music, follow them, check them out.
They stood in the breach. Great job. Bravo, Zulu, Andrew Colvett. Charlie Kirk will be very, very proud of you guys. Very proud. Those artists, unbelievable. Mike Lindell, you're on fire. You had a huge weekend down in Mar-a-Lago, but right now you can give us a couple of seconds on that. But people want to talk about a deal.
Right on. Everybody, yeah, we had a great fundraiser down here. You guys can check out my governor race at MikeLindellGov.com. Help out there. But right now, you get there where the two sales collide yet this morning. I'm going to run them this morning. I didn't have time to change anything. So you have the mega sale, the second annual mega sale. You guys check out the 6-piece towel sets. $34.98 for the War Room Posse. The best towels ever made. That's just one of the products right there. The Giza Dream Sheets, all the new colors all just came in as low as $29.98 a set. Check those out for this War Room mega sale. Go to mypillow.com/War Room. I'm going to leave the mattress toppers and the mattresses. You can still get them on sale, free shipping in your entire order. We're going to let these sales collide for today and tomorrow. You guys, you have the My Crosses, all the women's ones just came in you were waiting for. You save 50% there. But free shipping right to your front door. Remember, we have all the bedding technology you've ever wanted, proprietary technology to help you get the best sleep ever. Promo code War Room, 800-873-1062. Call my operators now, promo code War Room. The sale's on us.
We're back here. We're back. Thank you, sir. We're back here at see this afternoon. We're back here at 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, followed by War Room, Texas. Dave Bratt, you got 8 seconds, brother.
Hey, just follow me on the War Room, but read John Mearsheimer. More on that later.
Welcome to Real America's Voice, Real Minute. Your quick look at the powerful stories of faith and freedom, inspiring audiences across the nation. Angel Studios presents.
I'm Bo Davidson with your Real America's Voice, Real Minute. Did you ever wonder what truly happened in the COVID-19 pandemic and whether Anthony Fauci would ever be held accountable? I think we all have. Filmmaker Jenner Furst has an upcoming documentary that searches for truth, transparency, and accountability called Thank You, Dr. Fauci.
Governments lie.
Anthony Fauci put everyone on the planet at risk without their consent.
It's beyond suspicious.
Research caused a pandemic, killed 20 million, and cost $25 trillion. Fauci would prefer a lie.
Public trust, national health,